Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Pokemon Pocket video for you. So today we're going to be looking at the Triumphant Light trailer. This pack is coming out tomorrow, and I'm kind of considering doing a pack opening video, which I haven't done yet for Pokemon Pocket. I do have some pack points saved up, just a bit, but anyway, the main point here is that we're going to look at the cards shown in the trailer and sort of evaluate them and see what we think of the new stuff about to come out here. So I'm actually going to skip ahead a little bit until we actually get to the cards themselves. Okay, so Arceus EX. If we go back here just a little bit, we'll take a look at the HP. Yeah, so 140 HP, excuse me, 140 HP colorless. It's pretty expected for Arceus being a normal type. Fabled Luster, this Pokemon can't be affected by any special conditions. It's not bad. Ultimate Force, 3 colorless, 70 plus damage. This attack does 20 more damage for each of your benched Pokemon with a retreat cost of 2. Why don't we go ahead and look at all of the cards, like read the effects, and then we'll come back and evaluate them after we do that here. Because I haven't actually read all these yet. I did read this one beforehand. Okay, there's a ton here that I think we'll get to see more close-ups of, but some of these in the front are not too hard to make out. Crobat evolves from Golbat. Darkness Fang, 1 darkness deals 50 damage. I think Golbat also attacks for 1 energy, so that would make sense. Once during your turn, if you have Arceus or Arceus EX in play, you may do 30 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. Wow! So Arceus is actually its own, like, archetype? That's interesting. So Crobat is better Greninja, but only if you have Arceus or Arceus EX in play. Alright. I see Tyranitar over here as well. They are kind of rotating, but I think I already have this set to, 1080, so it's kind of difficult to tell what exactly the ability says. Land Crush for 4 energy deals 130. It's got 160 HP. It's basically a Golem type ability. I wonder, so these all have abilities. All of these Pokemon here have abilities, I'm noticing, and they have the same sort of symbol as Arceus. I wonder if this is all Arceus support. That'd be wild if true. Oh wait, here we go, hang on. Let's go back a second. Did show up a more close-up of the Tyranitar ability there for a moment, and there it is. Okay, Power Link. If you have Arceus or Arceus EX in play, attacks by this Pokemon deal plus 30 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. Okay, wait, hang on. Let me go playback speed. Let me slow that down here for a second. Okay, Speed Link. This is the Heatran. If you have Arceus or Arceus EX in play, that Pokemon has no retreat cost. Raging Mad Strike, 2 fire if this Pokemon has damage on it. Do something, I'm sure. Okay. Resilience Link, if you have Arceus or Arceus EX in play, this Pokemon takes minus 30 damage from attacks. I didn't see which one was a steel Pokemon. Let me go back here. Oh, that would be Magnezone EX. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so there's the Magnezone. Okay, good. There is a closer look here. So there's Tyranitar, already saw that. Carnivine. If you have Arceus or Arceus EX in play, attacks used by this Pokemon deal plus 30 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So I think Carnivine... Well, again, we'll talk about what we think of them towards the end. Raichu. If you have Arceus or Arceus EX in play, this Pokemon... Okay, so that was the one that takes minus 30. Spark. This attack also does 20 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Magnezone has a Power Beam for 80. Can speed this up just a little bit here. Okay, and then here's the rest. So Heatran's got 110 HP, Raging Mad Strike, 40, and then if it has damage on it, deals another 40. Rotom. Oh, because Ghost, right. I was like, why is it Psychic type? Because it's a Ghost Pokemon, too. Excuse me. So, if you have Arceus or Arceus EX in play, this Pokemon has no retreat cost. Okay, that was that one. Dash attack does 20 to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. Attacks for colorless, notably. So, okay. Vigor Link, if you have Arceus and Arceus EX used by this Pokemon, costs 1 less energy. Okay. Alright, let's turn the speed back up to normal for just a second here. Oh, hang on. Let's see that again. Garchomp EX. So notably, Cynthia, I'm pretty sure, does not boost the power of Garchomp EX's attacks, because Cynthia just says Garchomp. If it boosted Garchomp EX, it would be like those Arceus cards we just read, which say Arceus or Arceus EX. Garchomp EX and Garchomp are not the same, therefore I'm pretty sure Cynthia does not work with this, but linear attack does 50 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Dragon Claw for 3 energy deals 100. That's not bad at all. Adamant and Iridia, 2 new supporters. During your opponent's turn, all, I'm assuming, Steel Pokemon take minus 20 from attacks from your opponent's Pokemon. And Iridia says heals 40 damage from each of your Pokemon that has any water energy attached. Alright, we'll talk about that in a second. Leafeon and Glaceon, I was wondering where these were in Spacetime Smackdown, are both getting EXs. Each have 140 HP. Leafeon's Forest Breath says, once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you may take a Leaf Energy from your Energy Zone and attach it to one of your Pokemon. Solar Beam attacks for 70 off one Grass, 2 Colorless. Glaceon's ability, Snowy Terrain, during Pokemon Checkup. If this Pokemon is in the active spot, do 10 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. And then Freezing Wind is 2 water and 1 colorless for 90. Alright, is that all that we're going to see here? It looks like that is the case. Oh, and then we have some more additional news here. Special gift, you can obtain booster packs, guaranteed to include at least 1 card of 4-star rarity or higher from Genetic Apex. And Ranked Ladder. Ranked matches are coming at the end of March. Ooh, okay, so now that we've covered all that, let's go back and actually evaluate some of these cards now that we know what they all do. So, I will say, I think Arceus itself is quite good. 140 for a basic EX with a 2 retreat cost is a very standard rate. We see that in Dialga, we see that in, well no, Dialga and Palkia are 150 each, but we see that in Darkrai. I mean 150, 140 are close enough. Fabled Luster, the ability is fine. I mean, I don't think it's like super relevant. There's not a ton of status conditions in this format, but it's nice to be immune to them all the same. The attack Ultimate Force, I think, is quite good. Does 20 more damage for each of your benched Pokemon. If you think about this, like, if you compare this to Pidgeot, Pidgeot compares so unfavorably to this. Arceus is basically a Pidgeot that you can control the damage you deal a lot more easily, and also it's a basic and not a stage 2, so that's really good. If you have a full bench, this deals 130 for 3 colorless is a very, very good rate, especially when you consider that you could potentially ramp with Dialga into this, right? Dialga can attach 2 steel energy to this and it can start attacking, so that's pretty good. I think Arceus itself is quite good. Now, as far as all the Arceus support goes, let's see, Tyranitar, I kind of think this is just worse Golem, honestly. Tyranitar is very similar to Golem, but the thing that made Golem good is Brock. Brock lets you cheat energy onto your Golem as you're, like, ramping it up, right? Tyranitar, I'm assuming, is not going to have a corresponding supporter that helps in that regard. I don't think the benefit of dealing 30 more damage is enough to actually go into Tyranitar. Carvine being a basic, I think when it comes to the Arceus support, you're going to be more looking at the basics than anything else if you're actually trying to build a dedicated Arceus deck, but we'll still evaluate them all separately. So Carnivine being a basic is quite alluring. It does need a Leaf Energy to attack, and the Power Link ability lets it basically deal 50 damage for 1 energy. On an 80 HP body, we've actually already seen this rate with Skarmory. So I think between having Arceus and Arceus EX, you can have a total of 4 copies. You play a total of 4 tools in the Skarmory deck. So I think it's pretty reasonable to say that Carnivine will be able to attack for similar damage at a similar consistency rate that Skarmory can. Skarmory, as we've recently covered on the channel, is actually a quite good deck right now. So you do have to commit to playing Grass Energy. But that might not be an issue. We'll have to see. You could play a very aggro strategy where you're just playing Carnivine, maybe Executor EX and Arceus. Although, is that really better than playing Celebi? I'm not sure. But Raichu, let's see. Spark does 40 to the active and 20 to a benched. If you have Arceus, it takes minus 30. I mean, minus 30 from attacks isn't bad, but 90 HP on a stage 1 is. Obviously, the low HP is balanced around the fact that it takes less damage from attacks, but the minus 30 doesn't stop it from getting one-shot from attacks that deal 120 or more damage, which is not that difficult a lot of the time. Also, notably, of course, it doesn't protect from abilities, which a lot of damage in this meta does come from abilities. So I think Raichu is going to be a bit of a flop when it comes to the Arceus deck. Magnezone, let's see. What is Magnezone again? Is it the same? We might actually need to go back to the more close-up. Okay, so it's also taking minus 30 from attacks. It is the same ability as... Oh, it's even called the same thing, Resilience Link. Oh, and these are both called Power Link. Okay, I'm only just now getting that. How much did the attack on this cost? It was 2 steel, 1 colorless, it looked like, for 80 damage. So, Magnezone's 140 HP is a lot more appealing. But the problem is this Magnezone can't take advantage of Magneton's Volt Charge very well. You can use one of the electric to substitute the colorless requirement, but you still need 2 steel energy. Now, that might be worth if you're playing Dialga with the Arceus, right? Because then this becomes a pretty solid tank. But that's not nearly as good as Magnezone the other Magnezone currently is in this meta, so... that is definitely worth noting. Alright, looking at these other ones here. So, Heatran and Rotom both have Speed Link, which gives them no retreat cost while Arceus is in play. So, Rotom also notably attacks for colorless. So, you can put this Rotom in any Arceus deck, which I think is cool. And dealing 20 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with the attack is definitely not bad. Pretty comparable to Hitmonlee, right? So a Hitmonlee with no retreat cost, at the drawback of having 10 less HP and dealing 10 less damage on the attack, that's not bad. That's definitely not bad. And again, the fact that it attacks for colorless is very noteworthy. Let's see, so Heatran is basic, also noteworthy. If this Pokemon has damage on it, deals 40 more damage. I don't really think this one is that great. The Speed Link is a little weird here. You would think this would have the Resilience Link, right? That would be more natural synergy, but... Crobat is better... Okay, so Crobat and Abomasnow do have different abilities. Abomasnow, I'm assuming the Mega Punch is like 2 water, 1 colorless, and deals 80, similar to the Magnezone. I mean, 2 water for 80 damage is not a bad rate for a stage 1. That might be worth exploring for an Arceus strategy. The Crobat is interesting. So Crobat's Cunning Link is better Greninja, but only if you have Arceus in play. I will say, too, that Crobat has a much better attack rate, because Greninja, being a stage 2 as well, also... Well, I guess Crobat is as well, but... Greninja attacks for 60 damage off 2 energy, 1 water, 1 colorless. This attacks off 1 darkness energy for 50. I guess the question is, do you actually play darkness as your energy? You know, I could almost see a deck where you do Arceus and Arceus EX with Carnivine, Rotom, and Crobat, and then Grass is your base energy, right? You simply attack aggressively with the Carnivine. You can still deal, you know, Hitmonlee shenanigans with the Rotom, and then maybe you have the Crobat option. That's probably too many Pokemon for one deck, but maybe you split it between an aggressive build with Rotom and Carnivine with Arceus, and then maybe Arceus Crobat for more of a different style of deck? We know Greninja is good, so in theory, better Greninja is super worth exploring, I think. Alright, and then there's a couple of other ones here, right? The Garchomp EX. So again, as I touched on earlier, I'm pretty confident that the way Cynthia reads, this does not buff Garchomp EX's attacks. Kind of be insane if it did. So I'll kind of evaluate as if that isn't the case. The linear attack on this is super good. Dealing 50 to any Pokemon for 1 fighting. And having the option to attack for 100 off 3 is also quite good. Of course, it is a stage 2, though. I mean, this... I don't know. I don't think this is that good, honestly. Like, I compare it to Machamp in my head, and yeah, it compares favorably to Machamp. But only slightly, and also, Machamp is not a good Pokemon. Like, at all. So, Machamp EX, that is. So, I don't know. Being a stage 2 is the biggest, like, drawback here, I think. If these attacks were on a stage 1 and it had like a little bit less base HP, I'd be a lot more optimistic. But as it stands, I kind of think this isn't good enough. If this works with Cynthia, the linear attack is so much scarier. So is the Dragon Claw. So if this did work with Cynthia, then I think this would be an idea worth exploring. But I'm extremely confident that it doesn't, so I don't think this is very good. Let's talk about these supporters, Adaman and Iridia. So, Adaman is slightly better blue for steel decks. I'm assuming steel. We actually don't get to see, but, I mean, Adaman's whole thing is steel, right? So, I don't know if that's actually worth playing. Like, you wouldn't nearly, for even a second, I think, consider playing blue in any steel-type decks right now. I mean, it does make your Melmetal a lot more tankier, but, like, was that the thing that was holding Melmetal back? I don't know. Maybe it was, actually. But only for 1 turn, you know? And it's on a supporter, so it's like, eh. Iridia! Oh my god. Okay, we need to... Hang on, let's go back for a second. So while I think Adaman is a bit of a flop, Iridia... healing 40 damage from each of your Pokemon that has a water energy attached. Holy, that is absurd. I think that is extremely good. Like, think about how good Erica is in the current Executor EX deck, right? Like, Executor EX is pretty bulky with 160 HP, and then it gets healed for 50 off the Erica, especially because it attacks so aggressively in the early game off 1 energy. You know, that is very scary. And then you think about Palkia, which only has 10 less HP, can also aggressively attack with 1 water energy, but also has a big build-up attack. Now imagine that getting healed for 40, along with everything else that has a water energy attached. Oh my goodness. That Manaphy that like barely scraped by, surviving the opponent's first attack, you can actually just fully heal that now. That's kind of absurd. That's kind of ridiculous. Wow, Water has like 2 stellar supporter cards now. I think Misty has a lot more opportunity to high roll than Iridia, but I think Iridia is an extremely good card. Leafeon and Glaceon. So, Leafeon's Forest Breath ability is interesting, but the thing about it is that it needs to be in the active spot. And the attack rate, even when you factor in the Forest Breath, is... I guess it's fine, actually. I was about to say it's not great, but, like, you lead by putting... Like, let's say you go second, you put Eevee in your active, you give it a Grass Energy, next turn you evolve it into Leafeon, give it another Grass Energy, ability, Forest Breath, it can start attacking for 70 on your second turn. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. And then it can start, like, building up a Celebi on your bench. Did I just talk myself into thinking this? Okay, but here's the question. Is that better than Executor EX Celebi, right? Kinda think the answer is no. It's not the worst, though. it's like, okay. If Executor EX didn't exist, I would think this is pretty good, but... Because, like, you can just be building up your Celebi on the bench while you're tropical swinging, you know? And that doesn't require you to necessarily high roll as much. Glaceon. During checkup, this Pokemon is in the active spot. Do 10 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. It's like worse poisoning? So, like, Glaceon EX is like... weird wheezing is what I'll call it. And when I think about it that way, I'm not super optimistic about it. It's got a better attack rate, I guess? I mean, yeah, it does. It can deal more damage. But poison is good because it deals 10 between... I guess Pokemon Checkup is every turn. That's when poison kicks in, right? Yeah. So this is basically, okay, so this basically says as long as this is in the active spot, whatever your opponent's active Pokemon is basically poisoned. I said basically like 3 times there. Which is like, again, it's pretty comparable to Weezing. But does Water type really want a Weezing? I don't think they do. Like, I think Vaporeon is already just kind of... Well, okay, so wait, you're already playing Eevee and Vaporeon in Palkia decks. What if you just slotted in a Glaceon? Would that be good? No. No, I don't think it would be. Okay, I don't think this card's that great then. Okay, and that was it. That was all of the card reveals. But of course, at the end, there were a couple of additional reveals here. Ranked matches coming at the end of March. I'm quite excited about that because I kind of feel like there's not a lot of reason to play Pokemon Pocket sometimes outside of events. Events have definitely been the majority of the battles that I've had. Usually after the pack comes out and I've pulled everything I wanted, I'm like, good. You know, on Pokemon Pocket for a little while. So I do like that ranked matches will give us more incentive to battle. You can definitely expect more battling content in that regard, a little bit more consistently. But thank you everybody for watching this trailer with me, dissecting these cards alongside. My final recap is that I think Arceus EX has a lot of potential. Not even necessarily in like its own dedicated deck, but like you could just play it with like, again, Dialga to ramp. We've seen that Dialga ramping Pokemon that attack with colorless is a valid strategy, so I think it's got a good enough attack rate that's worth considering. And some of the support cards are neat. I think Iridia is ridiculous. I would definitely expect to see that in water decks. And I guess we'll just see what the rest of the set looks like here tomorrow. So thanks for joining me. That's going to do it for now. This is Hexlex. I am signing out and also hoping that you have a fantastic day.